হ্যালো বন্ধুরা, সবাইকে শুভ সময়। আজকে 20শে ডিসেম্বর 2025 বাংলাদেশ সময় এখন ভোর 4টা। তো আমরা বিশেষ অতিথি আরুণ রায়ের জন্য অপেক্ষা করছি। উনি হয়তো চলে আসবেন এক্ষুনি। কিছুক্ষণের মধ্যেই উনি চলে আসবেন এবং আমরা আমাদের অনুষ্ঠানটি শুরু করব এবং যারা দেখছেন এখন অথবা পরবর্তীতে দেখবেন আমাদেরকে জানান যে সবকিছু আ আপনারা দেখতে পাচ্ছেন কিনা এবং আ যারা লাইভটি আ যদি ভালো লেগে থাকে তাহলে অবশ্যই লাইক, শেয়ার এবং কমেন্টে জানাবেন। আমরা ওয়েট করছি আরুণরা হয়তো চলে আসবেন। আ কিছুক্ষণ আমরা অপেক্ষা করছি। কিছুক্ষণের মধ্যে আসবেন এবং সেই সাথে আমাদের আজকের আমাদের অনুষ্ঠানটি যেটি হবে সেটা হচ্ছে বিবর্তন তত্ত্ব নিয়ে আমরা কথা বলব এবং সেই সাথে আমরা আগামীকালও বিবর্তন তত্ত্ব নিয়ে অর্থাৎ আগামীকাল না আজকেই আমরা রাত ৮টায় আমার সাথে অমিত মন্ডল যুক্ত হবেন। উনিও বিবর্তন নিয়ে কথা বলবেন এবং আমরা আ এভাবে আমরা চাই যে এই বিবর্তনের উপরে আমরা এই আমাদের যে বেশি করে অনুষ্ঠানগুলি আমরা চালিয়ে যাব এবং আ আ আমাদের সাথে আমরা চেষ্টা করি যে কোনো বিশেষ অতিথি যারা এই বিষয়ে তারা এক্সপার্ট এবং যারা এই বিষয়ে অনেক গবেষণা করেছেন, এরকম ব্যক্তিদেরকে নিয়ে আসার জন্য। তো আমাদেরকে আরুনরা সময় দিয়েছেন আ আ ভোর ৪টায় উনি টেক্সাসে থাকেন। যেহেতু টেক্সাসে থাকেন, সেহেতু উনার সময় হচ্ছে বিকাল ৪টা। আর বাংলাদেশ সময় হলো ভোর ৪টা। তবুও আমাদের এখানে বেশ কিছু দর্শক রয়েছে যারা অপেক্ষা করছেন যে আমাদের বিশেষ অতিথি চলে আসবেন। তো আমরা হয়তো ২, ৪, ৫ মিনিট হয়তো অপেক্ষা করছি যে উনার সাথে আমরা আলাপগুলি করি। তো সেই সাথে দর্শক যারা দেখছেন তারাও আমাদেরকে লাইক, শেয়ার, কমেন্ট দিন এবং আরুণরা একজন অত্যন্ত গুরুত্বপূর্ণ ব্যক্তি যিনি আ এর আগে ফরমার প্রেসিডেন্ট ছিল আমেরিকান অ্যাসোসিয়েশন অফ এথিয়িস্ট কমিউনিটি। ওইখানে প্রেসিডেন্ট ছিল। তো সেখানে এখন উনি একটা হ্যাং আপ শো নামে একটি শো করছেন এবং আ এরপর উনি বেশ একজন সায়েন্স এডুকেটর হিসেবে পরিচিত। বিভিন্ন জায়গায় উনি এই বিবর্তনের উপর এবং ক্রিয়েশনিজম, ইন্টেলিজেন্ট ডিজাইন ইত্যাদি নিয়ে কথা বলে থাকেন। তো আজকে আমরা তার সাথে কিছুক্ষণ হয়তো আমরা সময় উনার সাথে আমরা স্পেন্ড করছি। উনার কথা শুনবো। দর্শকদেরকে আমি একটু পরে যুক্ত করব। দর্শকরা যদি যুক্ত হতে চান এবং আরুনরাকে প্রশ্ন করতে চান সেই সুযোগও পাবেন। অর্থাৎ আমরা আপনাদেরকে ওপেন করে দেব, লিংক ওপেন করে দেব। এখনো লিংকটি ওপেন করিনি। এখন লিংকটি আমি দেইনি বাইরে। কিন্তু আমরা লিংক দিয়ে দিব যদি দর্শকরা যুক্ত হয়ে আরুনরাকে প্রশ্ন করতে চান, আপনারা অবশ্যই যুক্ত হয়ে প্রশ্ন করবেন এবং আপনারা হচ্ছে যেটা করবেন সেটা হচ্ছে যে আপনারা প্রশ্ন করবেন এবং এই বিবর্তন টপিকেই থাকবেন। অথবা আপনারা যদি ক্রিয়েশনিজম অথবা ইন্টেলিজেন্ট ডিজাইন অথবা মানে এই ধরনের ক্রিশ্চিয়ানিটি সম্পর্কে অবশ্যই প্রশ্ন করতে পারবেন। উনি ইসলাম সম্পর্কে এতটা জানেন না। তো আপনারা অবশ্যই ওয়াজ করতে আসবেন না যে ইসলাম নিয়ে ওনাকে একটু জ্ঞান-ট্যান দেই। না, সেটা করার সুযোগ নেই। কারণ ইসলাম সম্পর্কে আ কম জানলেও উনারা এটা জানেন যে ইসলাম একটা ভুয়া ধর্ম, এটা তো জানেন। আ আমেরিকান বা যেকোনো দেশের বিদেশী যেকোনো মানুষ এই কথাটা অবশ্যই জানেন যে আ অনে অনে অ অ অবশ্যই তারা জানে যে ইসলাম কখনো কোনো একটি আ ঈশ্বর প্রদত্ত বা আল্লাহ, ভগবান এরকম একটি ধর্ম নয়। সেটা তারা অবশ্যই জানেন। তো যাই হোক সেই কারণে আপনারা অবশ্যই তাকে জ্ঞান দিতে আসবেন না যে ইসলাম গ্রহণ করেন বা এই ধরনের কিছু। প্রিচিং করতে বা প্রিচিং বা ওয়াজ করতে এখানে অ্যালাউড না। তো যাই হোক উনি আসবেন হচ্ছে কিছুক্ষণ হয়তো টাইম লাগতে পারে। উনি আমাকে জানিয়েছেন যে একটু পরে চলে আসবেন এবং এসে আমাদের সাথে আলোচনায় অংশ নিবেন। তো আমরা ওয়েট করছি। আর আ আপনাদের যদি প্রশ্ন থাকে কমেন্টে প্রশ্ন করতে পারেন অথবা যুক্ত হয়ে প্রশ্ন করতে পারেন। আমরা আপনাদের প্রশ্নগুলি গ্রহণ করব। এবং ওকে।
Yeah,
Hello.
that took a lot longer to get back here than I thought it would.
That's fine. So how are you today?
It's all right. It's all right. Are you in India?
I'm in Bangladesh.
Bangladesh. Okay, gotcha.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And okay, so let our audience know where you're at in the world and a little bit about yourself.
All right. Well, my name is Aron Ra. I'm an atheist activist in Texas. And Texas is an extremely religious, right wing kind of area. So I'm up against the odds in what I do for sure.
So what percentage of people are religious in Texas, do you think? Or in United States generally?
Well, it's on some specs, it would be that atheists actually outnumber Protestants, we outnumber Jews, we outnumber Catholics, but we don't outnumber all three of them. So you could say that 1/4 to a third of the country is atheist, but everything is owned and controlled by religious extremists, and it does seem in practical application like everybody you meet is religious, and deeply so, and they're given to all kinds of conspiratorial, paranoid conspiracy theory kind of thinking too.
Tell us what you're doing now, and you used to be the president of ACA, right, or something like that.
Well, I was briefly president of Atheist Alliance of America.
Atheist Alliance, okay. Yeah. And right now I see you on the Hang Up show.
I do. Well, not the Hang Up. I'm on Skep Talk about once a month or so.
Right. Okay. So tonight, do you have a presentation for us regarding our talk on evolution or any of the topics I think would be good, either evolution or intelligent design or either that or creationism? Why you think creationism doesn't make sense or intelligent design doesn't make sense? Or
I could do either of those. I mean,
right.
Yeah. So creationism isn't. It in large degree is certainly not that the people who. And how long did you want me to go on about this? How long you want me to talk about this?
As long as you can.
As long as I can.
Yeah. Yeah. If you want like 2 hours, that's fine.
No.
Let me know.
Yeah, I've got other things I've got to get to doing.
Okay.
But creationism is a means. We could say that religion in general is a means of manipulation of the masses. But creationism is a form of religious extremism. So it is literally rejecting reality in whole or in part in favor for arguments from authority, which are already fallacious. But it's not just arguments from a false authority; it's arguments from an erroneously assumed authority, meaning the scriptures. And so the people who are fundamentalists, who are determined to believe whatever the scriptures say, have admitted many times, many ways, that they are going to believe what the scriptures say, even if they know that it's false, even if they already know that it's wrong. I saw one documentary where a guy said that if he read somewhere in the Bible that it said 2 + 2 = 5, that he wouldn't question that he would believe it and try to understand it, simply because it's in the Bible. So they're going to believe whatever the Bible says simply because the Bible says it, and it doesn't matter what the truth is, even if you can prove it, because they've somehow staked their identity and what they imagine to be their soul and their eternity, which they don't even have, but they're basing assumptions atop assumptions, and They don't have a lot of concern over what the truth is. Now, the people who are in charge of creationism, the leading voices in that movement, they know exactly what lies they have to tell and at what cue to keep the tithing coming in. So I've challenged all of the big names on this on various points. This reason I wrote a book called The Foundational Falsehoods of Creationism. There's just a handful of lies creationists have to adhere to that they will not admit. Things like beneficial mutations. Even like Stephen Meyer, head of the Discovery Institute, refuses to accept that beneficial mutations actually are providing a new source of information. Same thing with Answers in Genesis and other organizations like that. They refuse to admit that beneficial mutations can exist. Same thing with transitional intermediate species. They insist that none of those have ever been found. They insist that Australopithecus afarensis was just a single individual and that she was just a chimpanzee, and that it was, and that everything else about the hundreds of individuals we have from that species or from the dozens of other intermediate species, that they were all somehow a part of an elaborate hoax. So they'd like to say that atheists believe that everything came from nothing, and it doesn't matter that no atheist I know believes that, and that we all enunciate it. We don't hold actually to any sort of universal beginning. It doesn't matter to me whether the universe had a beginning or not. But none of the theories of cosmogony that I've ever heard of start with a literal nothing. Nothing. I mean, there's not one that starts with nothing. At most, they start with a singularity, which is kind of like literally everything, not nothing. But they have to misrepresent however they can. So, and philosophically as well. And all of this to keep, I don't understand what the fascination is with people who admitted to me that they will continue to believe whatever they want to believe, regardless whether it's true or not. I've had one person admitted to me that he knew that it was not true, but he was going to believe it anyway. I don't understand. How do you know that it's not true and still believe it? So it's a massive amount of pretending. Now, intelligent design is a special sort of scam. That is a form of creationism that pretends not to be creationism. It pretends to be scientific. And when it first cropped up, I was on a TV show, a local TV show on PBS that was they had an evolutionary biologist, and then they had a young Earth creationist, and sitting between them was an intelligent design theorist, because they wanted to create this middle of the road position where you can accept some evolution and you can believe in God and creation and still be in the middle on all, and you don't have to accept all of evolution and that sort of thing. And you don't have to be a religious extremist. That was the impression they were trying to give. But what they really had was one scientist and two fundamentalists. Intelligent design theory meets exactly none of the criteria required of a scientific theory. And in a court of law, in Kitzmiller versus Dover, 2005, intelligent design was found to be not only straight up creationism, which they denied, but they found that it was a criminal conspiracy to get around the law against teaching creationism in public schools. Now, intelligent design people will still insist today that intelligent design is not creationism. But there was a textbook that was originally published by... Damn, there goes the damn dog. Shut up! Sorry about that. I've got dogs barking everywhere.
How many dogs do you have?
At the moment, 5.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, my wife, we had 6.
Okay.
And, yeah, my wife tries to foster.
Wow.
I gotta get something. I'm gonna send a message to her. Come do something about dogs.
Go ahead.
But bear with me just a moment.
Yes, sure. Okay, so কুকুরগুলি পিছনে। বাই দ্য ওয়ে, একজন লিখেছেন অডিয়েন্স, হ্যাঁ আমরা অডিয়েন্সকে যুক্ত করব। ব্ল্যাক আপু, আপনি লিখেছেন যে অডিয়েন্সদের বিষয় ডিটেলস। হ্যাঁ, অডিয়েন্সদেরকে আমরা যুক্ত, এর আগে আমরা অডিয়েন্স যুক্ত করেছিলাম, কিন্তু মুমিনরা এসে অনেক ডিস্টার্ব করে, যেন এবার চাইনি। কিন্তু আপনাদেরকে অবশ্যই লিঙ্ক, আপনারা যদি যুক্ত, আপনি বা অডিয়েন্স যুক্ত হতে চাইলে আপনাদেরকে আমি ইনবক্সে লিঙ্ক দিয়ে দিচ্ছি, আপনি কমেন্টে জানান যুক্ত হতে চান কিনা। এরপর আরো কিছু কোয়েশ্চেন ওনাকে করব ইন্টেলিজেন্ট ডিজাইন সম্পর্কে এবং ইভলিউশন ইন পার্টিকুলার, আমরা এটা নিয়ে কথা বলবো আজকে। All right, so Aron is back. I see you've got the motorcycle jacket on. So are you planning to ride your bike? I saw that you bought a Harley.
No, I bought an Indian.
Oh, Indian bike. Okay.
It's the funny thing is it's not an Indian bike. It's a motorcycle company named Indian.
Oh, okay.
In reference to what they call the American Indians, which is really Native Americans and not Indians at all.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I have a quote from you. I think this. I'm not sure this is the right way you said this. But intelligent design is not just wrong, but bullshit. Oh no, I mean it's dishonest.
Yeah. It is a deliberate misrepresentation. Yes.
Right. Okay, so you were saying that they tried to pretend that it's a middle way in between
Yeah.
science. Okay, go ahead.
So back in the 80s, there was a textbook, a creationist textbook that they would send out to Christian schools. So they're teaching children in these private schools. They're teaching pseudoscience. They're teaching anti-science nonsense to children in private schools. And one of those textbooks was called Of Pandas and People. And they talked about, all through the book, they talked about creationists and what they believe, and they also gave the definition of creationism. And they give this long paragraph of how, special magical creation, whatever, is what they believe in. But then there was a Supreme Court ruling in 1987, which made it illegal to teach religious fundamentalism in public schools, which is what they were trying to do. They were trying not to be in just private schools. They're trying to teach in public schools. And so I can't remember which one, Brown versus Board of Education or whoever was, whichever trial that was. But when in 1987 it became illegal to teach creationism in school, they changed the textbook. Now they had the textbook on a computer, so all they did was change a couple of macro command to change a couple of the words. They changed design, or they changed creationists to design proponents, and they changed creationism to intelligent design. So this happened also in the definition of the word. So where previously it said, that creationism is the belief that a supernatural creator created everything and that everything did not evolve, whatever, however they phrased that, it now said intelligent design, and then exactly the same paragraph that used to define. So they are literally the same thing. And these people are on the stand lying about what intelligent design is. And then one of the ways that they discovered that especially was there was a misspelling in the book that that confused the macro command. So instead of changing creationists to design proponents, it instead spelled out see design proponentsists, which was a combination of both of the words. And this revealed that it was just a criminal conspiracy, that they're lying about what they are, just trying to get their religion taught in schools, and that's it.
Yeah, and there's one thing I remember about the trial. They were trying to prove that there was irreducible complexity or some sort that cannot come through evolution. That's what they said.
And the interesting thing there is that before they went to court, every single claim that this was the Discovery Institute, or the people like Stephen Meyer, the director of it, who made up this thing about irreducible complexity and specified complexity and a handful of other nonsense, inapplicable words that don't have any value in science. Every argument they made for irreducible complexity had already been disproved before that they were also shown to be fraudulent in a court of law. So, and they had been disproved even by Christian scientists prior to that. And the primary witness, or the star witness at that point, was a textbook author of all of our college biology books. And that was, oh my gosh, I can't believe I can't think of his name right now. Oh, well. But anyway, yeah. Can't believe I can't think of him. Can't believe I can't think of that name. Anyway, he's he identifies as a traditional Catholic, and he says that his religious beliefs are not at all affected by his understanding of evolution, and he is the textbook author on genetics, biology for college classes. Funny that I can't remember that name, but anyway, he was the star witness in Kissmiller versus Dover, and he's traditional Catholic, disproves intelligent design, every single claim that they had made for how things cannot be, how you can't reduce this or that. There were a number of arguments, and I kept the determinations of the court, the claims being made primarily by intelligent design theorist Michael Behe, and the comments on the court, how they responded to that after they'd seen testimony. And one of the highlights of that was when Michael Behe said that science will never have an explanation for the blood clotting cascade, for example. No, wait, it wasn't the blood clotting cascade. I should pull this up.
Right.
But he said the science would never have an explanation for this. And when the attorneys for the other side came in, they showed him 56.
Was it bacteria flagellum?
Let me see. Science will never find an evolutionary explanation for the immune system.
Immune system, okay.
Yeah, and the opinion of the court was that Behe was presented with 58 peer-reviewed publications, 9 books, and several immunology textbook chapters about the evolution of the immune system. However, he simply insisted that this was still not sufficient evidence of evolution and that it was not good enough. So, one of the things that I've noticed about faith is faith means never admitting when you're wrong.
Correct.
Not even when that's been proved. Not even when everybody knows it. And that everyone knows it. And know that everyone knows that you know it. Just still don't admit it. Just keep doubling down.
Let's go back to your childhood. Were you born to a religious family? Were your parents religious? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, my family, my mother in particular, was Mormon, and I don't even know how to describe that religion to your audience, but she in their community, they had this tradition that you don't indoctrinate children until they reach the age of reason, which they deemed to be 8 years old. And that, fortunately for me, was just a local tradition for that community. So there was an old saying by the Jesuits that said, bring me a child until he is 7 and I will show you the man, because they know that if you teach a child until that age, you will have indoctrinated or inculcated them to the point where they will always believe whatever you taught them by that age. But my family, fortunately, decided to wait until the age of reason on the logic that I wouldn't understand the advanced learning they're trying to teach me until I'm old enough, and so they would begin to teach me when I'm old enough to understand. Unfortunately, by that time, I already knew better than they did.
Being Mormon, it's not a common thing in America, right, to be Mormons? Or
no, Mormon is there's about 12 million. There's 12 million Mormons supposedly out of 350 million Americans, something like that.
Oh, okay.
So it's
small. Yes,
but and it's hard to get off the Mormon rolls too, because I found out that my name was still on there.
Okay.
And I had to notify someone to get my name off the rolls, and then they sent me a form that I had to sign, acknowledging that leaving the Mormon Church would endanger my immortal soul.
Were you scared back then when you found
out? Be scared. I mean, when they tell you that if you don't buy into our bullshit, the Jolly Green Giant is going to come get you. Just something completely ridiculous.
No, but you were raised to believe that, and like at what age did you figure out that it's all wrong or not
Well, I don't
true?
know that most of the time this is a long process. Most people don't put it all together in a minute. I think Ricky Gervais is the only one who ever put it together in just a single minute. But I mean, everybody, every adult that I had ever met in my life, everybody, even children, everybody I had ever met until I was 14, everybody was a creationist. Everybody believed the literal interpretation of the Bible. Everybody believed there was a global flood, all of that. Until, as I said, was about 14 when I had an atheist teacher in middle school. And I
Okay.
mentioned something about Noah's flood, and the guy laughed at me and he said there was never a flood.
Do you remember his name or her name?
No, I'm afraid I don't.
Okay.
But
Okay.
yeah, but so when I pieced it together, I mean that was a good start to that. But I'd already tried to read the Bible at 12, and I couldn't get very far into it. It was at some point in Genesis, I threw it across the room. It was just, this is too stupid to believe.
Is it the same Bible that Christians read, or do you have a different one for
Well, I don't remember which one I was reading at the time. Which translation
right?
that I happen to have hold of. But there wasn't that. There's not that much difference between the different translations.
And was it something in the Bible, or was it like a process you went through that?
It was
brought-
what I was told about the Bible was that the Bible was the Word of God. The Bible is the absolute truth, and it is the Word of God. And God is love, and God is the ultimate wisdom. So, unlike most Christians will tell me that God is love and God is the ultimate wisdom, and the Bible is His Word. So you would think that means that if you read the Bible, you will be tapping into the greatest genius imaginable, right? I will be able to read
yeah.
wisdom beyond anything I've ever heard or seen. So I start reading it, and of course you don't read very far into the Bible from any direction. You don't even have to start at the beginning. Start at any book in the Bible, and you will realize pretty quickly this is not the word of a supreme being. This is not the word of a superior being. This is the words of a bunch of inferior beings trying to justify their humanity and atrocities. Yeah.
Right.
So, I mean, I knew that this cannot be literal at all. I mean, I knew that Adam and Eve were just metaphorical. I mean, I knew that when I was 8. When my mom came in on my 8th birthday and said, "Here's the Bible. It's the absolute truth and the Word of God." And my initial response upon trying to read it was, "No, it isn't. Look what it says here." And I thought that when people read this, they're going to see, "Oh, well, yeah, that makes no sense. So this can't be. I was obviously misinformed. This can't be the Word of God. This is obviously not the ultimate wisdom and all that shit." No. But strangely, nobody else in my family was able to do that. And most Christians won't read the Bible. They think, or they'll say that God is love and God is ultimate wisdom and all of that, and that this is His word, but they won't crack it open. Why is that? It's funny to me when people tell me that they're better than me because they're Christian, but they don't even know what that means. They've never cracked open a Bible. They don't care what it says. They don't know what a creed is. They're on their 4th felony conviction or their 3rd marriage, and they're better than me because they're Christian. And what's that mean? It means that they wear a cross.
Yeah, and they have some delusions about God. That's why they're better.
Well, if you declare that you're Christian, well, that means you're good. All you got to do is say that you're Christian, and that's it.
Sure.
Don't go to church. Don't read the Bible. Don't nothing. Just say that you're Christian, and then go back to drinking.
Right.
And you will have achieved something somehow. But my frustration is people holding to this assumption of authority. As Carl Sagan said, arguments for authority are worthless, and yet that's what religious people hold to. They will go to a church and they will listen to some ignorant, bigoted know-nothing lie to them for a couple of hours, This guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Nobody can show that there's any truth to any of this at all. So why are we all sitting here nodding our heads? What does that goober know about anything? Right? So
Yeah.
it was always a frustrating thing for me when my family took me into a church when I was 11 for Easter Sunday, and the guy behind the podium was saying some stupid bullshit about that. He said that there were footprints, dinosaur footprints, found in a riverbed in Texas, and that there was human sandal prints mixed in with dinosaur footprints. And so there were people walking amongst dinosaurs. And the guy said that this happened 6,000 years ago, which I didn't realize. He's saying that because people who believe the Bible believe that the world is only 6,000 years old. But I, as a little kid, am thinking that he's talking about pre-Columbian Native Americans.
But yeah, if you believe like 6,000 year old, those would be the young Earth creationists. Right? There's some people who believe differently, I think.
So I eventually found out what it is that he's talking about, but I mean, it turned out that there were no human footprints in with the dinosaur footprints. It's some of the theropod footprints, the way the three toes go in the mud, when they pull their foot back out, the way the mud folds over when it's wet mud, has a vague appearance like a human foot. Just, I mean vague. Okay. So it's like if you were wearing a sandals or moccasins. And so when the guy said that they were wearing sandals, I thought, well, Native Americans don't wear sandals; they wear moccasins, and moccasins wouldn't leave footprints. So I'm seeing all these problems, and I'm thinking, is there a lone group of iguanodons or something that still existed in pre-Columbian America, whatever? Because I was primed to believe in all kinds of stupid shit like Loch Ness Monster and all of that crap. Because I was raised to believe a bunch of idiocy.
Right.
And when the guy said that this proved that those were Adam's footprints.
Okay.
And I understood that you cannot make a statement of fact if you can't show that it's true. You can't claim that it's true if you can't show the truth of it, right? You have to be able to show the evidence that leads to that conclusion exclusively. You can't just make an assertion like that. And how, even if it was Adam's footprints, how could you know that? Right. Adam puts on a pair of sandals, and so you recognize how. I'm a little kid. I'm 11 years old. I'm sitting in a church pew, and I lean over to my grandmother and like, Grandma, he's lying. Yeah. And then I get belted for it.
And dinosaurs were extinct like 60 million or something years ago.
Yeah.
And then
apart from birds. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Somebody said, Aron Ra, the name you wanted to remember is Kenneth Miller.
There. Yes. Thank you. I knew that there was a K in it, but I kept thinking the K was in the last name. And it was, it was throwing me.
Okay. So there's one more. If evolution were false, what kind of evidence would actually falsify it?
Well, that depends on what the alternate explanation is. So, I mean, we would have, in science, we have to, and whenever possible, we have to weigh multiple hypotheses at once and not necessarily believe any of them. So you have, okay, well, there's evidence that fits this. There's evidence that also works with this. But we need something that isolates one from the other. And as a matter of fact, if the same fact is true in either case, then it's not evidence of either one. We need a fact that if a fact doesn't become evidence until it points to one or eliminates the other. So it really depends on what the alternative theory is. So if things were not related, then what is the explanation for biodiversity? And right now, evolution is the only explanation for biodiversity, scientific or otherwise.
We don't have any other.
Yeah. So we know, for example, that I often cite this genetic chart of dogs because everybody accepts that dogs are derived from wolves, though that took some time. I remember people say, well, If we came from apes, then why are there still apes? Which is just the dumbest thing that they've ever argued. And I say, okay, well, you know that dogs came from wolves, so why are there still wolves? And
Right.
they get confused. So, well, that's
Yeah.
different. No, I'm like, it's exactly the same. It's not even analogous. That is the literal exact same thing. Dogs come from wolves. We come from apes. So why? It's
Yeah.
the same story. But it's worse than that, because wolves are themselves a subset of canids, and there are other canids, other dogs that are not domestic dogs, that were not derived from wolves, that were never wolves, like the African Cape dog and the South American bush dog and the Asian raccoon dog. Yeah, and also I think well, maybe maybe the Australian dingo is a wolf derivative, but that would be the one exception there. So I
Right.
bring up this chart of canines, and it shows the maned wolf, which is actually, it looks like a wolf, but is actually derived from something closer to a fox. And there's a bunch of different species of foxes, and there's different types of dogs, there's different types of wolves and coyotes and jackals and so on. And it's a genetic chart showing exactly how they're interrelated, which ones are more closely related to each other than these other ones are. And then I ask the believers, okay, you tell me that there's a dog kind. So are you looking at this chart and looking at all of these varied canines? Do you agree then that all of these different species evolved from a common ancestral canine? So they all evolved from a common ancestor, the granddaddy of all canines. And what I would get is they don't want to answer that question with a yes or no. They'll say they're all the same species. I'm like, really? Foxes are the same species as wolves? Foxes are the same species as your Dalmatian? Foxes. Are you sure? But they won't argue that. They will not accept. They will not ever answer. They'll say that, you know, you have the dog kind, and we had an original kind. All these derived from an original dog answer, and it was, as Kanthoven would put it, I think that the common answer of all dogs was a dog. Yes, in your idiocy, you managed to get this one thing correct, but that also means that foxes and the bush dog and the African painted dog, these are all derivatives of that same common ancestor. Well, that's fine. They're all subspecies of Canis lupus, they say, except, oh no, they're not. And they'll say, well, they can all interbreed, so they're all the same kind. But, oh no, they can't. You can't breed foxes. You can't breed silver foxes with red foxes. You can't breed the maned wolf with other foxes, with doles, or with the bush dog, or with the raccoon dog. The African painted dog cannot interbreed with any domestic dog breed, any domestic dog breed. They can't, because they are so far distinct from each other genetically that they're no longer chemically interfertile. That means
Right.
that by both the
different
genetic
species.
species concept and by the biological species concept, they are different species within the same genus, within the same family. But believers will not, even when they know what the answer is, they will not give that answer, because they know that means giving up on something they want to pretend. And I mean
Yeah.
pretend on purpose. They know it's not true, but they're going to make believe anyway.
And you realized that pretty early in your childhood, right?
Sadly,
Uh,
no. I
okay.
foolishly thought that people believed, into my adulthood, I thought
Okay.
that if I ask anybody, why do you believe that? I thought they would give me a reason. If you
Mm-hmm.
ask me why I believe something, I will explain the logic and the
Yes.
evidence
Yes.
behind it that drew me to my conclusion. And then if you challenge either the logic or the evidence, okay, well, I might change my mind. If you can challenge both of those, and sometimes the evidence that I thought I had for this or that turned out to be bogus. Like I said, I used to believe in Bigfoot and Loch Ness Monster and a bunch of other shit. But as I said,
You really thought that Bigfoot exists?
everybody I knew did.
Okay.
It's a little hard when everybody believes that. All the adults that you look up to and admire, everybody that you respect, they all believe that shit. Yeah, in the 1970s in California, where I lived at the time, Andre the Giant was dressing up in furry suits and getting on the $6 Million Man TV show, and he would play Bigfoot, and just everybody accepted that Bigfoot was real.
Okay. Yeah, but you didn't have any reason for that, right?
Well, we thought we did, because
Okay.
there's all these reports of have
It's on TV.
found unidentified animal hair or whatever,
Right.
and all these clips of footage and personal testimony, all these people saying that what
Yeah.
they saw when they ran into it, all that crap. And I didn't realize what a big scam it is that people want so badly to pretend things that are not true.
Right.
That that was a revelation for me. So as I'm reading the Bible, I realize one, the Bible was not written by God. This is not the words of a superior being. If I've read human authors that are way better than this book. This book is awful. It's bigoted. It's superstitious. It's stupid. It's saying things that we know are not true. Like Adam and Eve. Eve gets fooled by the serpent.
Yeah.
And in Genesis 3, it says that when the serpent was caught, that the serpent deceived her. God calls the serpent a liar, but in fact, the serpent didn't lie. God did. The serpent
Yes.
told the truth. And I can't get Christians will just not accept. God said that they would die in that day. They didn't. The serpent said, "You will not die. Instead, your eyes will be opened." And what was the very next thing? And they ate, and their eyes were open. Hey, the serpent was right. Okay, and let's forget for a moment that we're talking about a talking snake, because Christians then changed what the whole snake thing was, so that it's not even a snake anymore. So they do all this prophetic talking. So when they say that when the Bible says this, it really means that, but only right here, only in this part. When it says this, then it means that. Everywhere else, it means something else, or it means the regular thing, which is crazy. But in Genesis 3, it talks about how Eve, her generations, the children of men, will have enmity with the children of the serpent. So the serpent is going to reproduce. Eve is going to reproduce. The descendants of the serpent are going to, bruise man's heel, and the sons of man will crush the serpent's head. All of that, right? So it's talking about, if this was the devil, which is what creationists want to pretend. They want to pretend that the serpent was the devil. The devil has children, and the devil then was cursed to crawl in his belly for the rest of his days. How long does an immortal character live? For the rest of his days? How long is that? And then the descendants of Satan are what? They're just Satan again, reincarnated, because when it says the son of Eve, the Christians interpret that to mean Jesus. And when it's talking about the son of Eve, they think that Eve doesn't mean Eve, that Eve means Israel. So only here, when it says Eve, doesn't mean Israel. Only in this, in chapters 1 and 2, yeah, Eve means Eve. But in chapter 3, Eve means Israel.
How did they know? How did they know that? What it means? What?
But it gets even worse. If Jesus if the sons of men really means secretly Jesus, and Eve is really secretly Israel, then Israel is going to be bruised by the serpent on the heel. What? That didn't make any sense. It only makes sense if we're talking about the granddaddy of all snakes, from which all snakes descend. Now, if we're talking about evolution, evolving from a common ancestor, biodiversity, lots of different types of snakes coming from one original ancestor, that makes sense, at least in the sense of a fable, which we know that this is. But people are still trying to pretend that the tree of knowledge and the tree of eternal life were both made of wood, and that you could cut them down and make furniture. I saw this great cartoon where God is walking through the garden, and he sees Adam and Eve, and they're sitting at a table with chairs. And he's angry, but Adam and Eve says, "But we did not eat of it. We made of it a dinette set."
Yeah, but the similar stories are in Quran, which my background is in Islam. I used to be Muslim, but I became an atheist because I watched your shows. And also another gentleman you might know, he's also from Texas, Matt Dillahunty.
I might know him.
Yes. So I was watching 80s Experience. It was a long time ago, maybe 10 years ago. And So that made me question. So is there any evidence? So the evidence you talked about, eyewitness and something like that, and same stories are hijacked from Bible into Quran.
Yeah.
So basically, they say it's Abrahamic religion. So the three religion, Jews, Muslims, and Christians, and Islam claim that everybody is our prophet. So Jesus was a prophet, Moses was a prophet, everything. And
Yeah,
so
and
they
they're
just,
all Muslims somehow.
yeah,
Moses
they're all, yes. Jesus was a Muslim. Okay, so I looked, I checked with AI, Chat GPT, and it says you are a science educator, a paleontologist by training, and a prominent atheist and secular activist.
yes.
What brought you to the path you're now on?
I I've always been interested in dinosaurs and that sort of thing. I've always found myself embroiled somehow or other in the religious argument just because of where I live, and and not believing things the same way other people did. When people would ask me as a kid, "What religion are you?" I always knew that there was going to be a problem, because if you care what my religion is, that means you care what your religion is, and then I don't care what anybody's religion is. So you're going to make that an issue that it doesn't matter. And people would tell me, I would say that, well, my family is Mormon. And I always thought that there was obviously a comma there, dot, dot, dot. I'm about to say, probably the next word I'm going to say is but, you know, and they wouldn't catch that. They would start telling me all the crazy things Mormons believe, which is a stupid thing to do. Why would you tell me that I believe? Oh, stupid dogs. My apologies. Something broke a leaf outside and
That's
set off
fine.
the sensory alarm system.
Maybe the postman.
No, that's what it was the last time the dogs went off. It was
Okay.
it
It
was
was
the
a
mailman
postman.
at the door.
All right.
Yeah. So I mean, I thought that when I didn't identify as Mormon because when I was a little kid, I knew that I didn't know much about Mormonism. I mean, how would I know that I believe everything necessary to be a Mormon? I don't know what all the necessary beliefs are. And I don't know anything about any other religions either. I knew there were other religions and that I didn't know about them. So how would I know that I don't resonate with one of these other religions better? So I didn't identify as Mormon. And it surprises me, honestly surprises me. Am I really the only child on earth who thought that just because my parents belong to this religion does not necessarily mean that I believe that religion? I can't be the only person who thought like that, right? But it seems like I am. Everybody else says, well, I was born Mormon, or I was born Catholic, or I was born Republican. Here in Texas, we get that a lot. People who think they were born into a political party because that's what their parents are. That's just not the way any of that works. So I often get into arguments with religious people who say that that Christianity and Islam are growing faster than atheism is, but statistically, atheism is actually growing faster. And they said, but we're breeding faster than you. Well, that may be, but the problem is, and it is true that Christian families do reproduce, and Muslim families too, do reproduce more progeny than atheist families do. That's true. But the where more atheists come from is from the other two religions having attenuation. The kids grow up and they realize, you know what, this is a bunch of bullshit. and they become atheists. So it
Right.
has nothing to do with the birth rates. And the fact that Christians and Muslims breed so much does not necessarily mean that those kids are still going to be believers when they're 30. A lot of them are going to walk away half that time. And so I got on when I first got online. I started working for an internet service provider, and I started arguing on Usenet back in the days when Usenet existed. There was a group called Talk.Origins, and there were scientists on one side and religious apologists on the other. And the nice thing is I could just create a topic and I could just throw a question out there, and both sides would try to address it. it didn't take long to realize who had the goods. The scientists are showing data to back their side, and the religious folks are arguing with themselves over the proper way to make believe this or not.
Yes.
And everything on the religious side, it's all conflicting opinions and authoritarian dictates and whatever their particular favorite scriptures say. And the scientists are showing here, well, here's the demonstrable truth to that.
Most of the time, the religious people, they're trying to get the story straight. So they're trying to figure out which is the right story.
And every time there's a deviation,
yes,
it's heresy, right? It's a heretical. You don't believe exactly what you were told just because you were told to. So now Kirk Cameron, who was a young Earth creationist against evolution, all of that, now he got into the news by saying he no longer believes in, is it hell? Maybe that's it. But I mean, he says he doesn't believe in eternal damnation anymore. Well, now all the religious community is coming down on him. The rest of us are like, well, of course there's no damned hell. When I was 13, I believed in Jesus and God and all of that until I was 19. I was well into 19 years old, still believing in all of that. But when I was 13, I couldn't believe in hell anymore. It was too ridiculous to believe in hell. I'm glad Kirk Cameron at 40, 50 years old finally caught up to where I was at 13.
Yeah.
Realizing that hell is too damn stupid. It's so extreme, right? If hell existed, then God could not, because a hell is inconsistent with God. No God worthy of worship would allow a hell to exist. Right. So you're going to be judged for eternity on a you strike a match, that's your life. That when that flame goes out 3 seconds later, that's what you're judged for 11 jillion years after that. Does that sound fair? Did you happen to be born into the right religious community? Did you happen to believe the correct set of lies? Yeah, because if you grew up Muslim, so if you let's say you want to do the Pascal's wager thing, you want to hedge your bets. How do you do that? Well, you can't say that you accept Jesus, Son of God, as your savior, because that sends you to Muslim hell.
Correct.
I can't say that that Jesus is just a prophet of God, and so is Muhammad, because that sends me to Christian hell.
Yes.
So Pascal had no idea what the fuck he was talking about. He only knew Christianity. He didn't imagine what Pascal would have done if somebody tries to explain Sikhism.
Mm-hmm. Hinduism. Even
yes.
Go ahead. No, even in Christianity, some people believe in different hell. Like some people don't believe in eternal hell. Some do. Yeah, so there's differences in Christianity in different sects, or So same in Muslims. There many different variations. Yeah.
So I always been interested in paleontology. I always liked dinosaurs. When I was in second grade, my second grade school teacher, who might have been an atheist, might not have been a creationist, but she never said so. So I don't know, but I kind of get the clue that maybe she wasn't, because she gave me, not just lent me, but gave me a book about dinosaurs for my birthday. As a student of hers, she gave me this book, and the book had a cladogram in it, or a dendrogram. It's showing how different things are related, which of course makes sense. And it befuddles me that people cannot understand. I mean, when Kent Hovind likes to draw distinctions between everything, he'll take one of this and one of that, and he can show how these are different. Any idiot can do that, which is because he's an idiot. So that's what he's limited to. But if you have three to look at, well, now you got a problem if you're a creationist, because you have a sheep and a goat and a cow. The sheep and the goat are closer together than the cow. They're more closely related to the cat than the cow. the sheep and the goat and the cow and a chicken. Well, now they're all three together. They're closer to each other than to the chicken. Right. So there's this game on a children's TV show that we had here in this country. So one of these things is not like the other, and so you have three things to look at, and you have to figure out which one is different from the other two. Where's the consistency? Where's the difference? And with taxonomy, that's just how that works. So I was interested in the study of paleontology. I was interested in the study of taxonomy. I understand how things are related to each other, and I've even had the opportunity to go on a few paleontological digs, which is fascinating.
Wow.
So when people
Yeah.
tell me that there's no such thing as fossils, we'll go look.
Yeah.
Come
Dig it
see.
up. Right? Yes.
I was arguing with a young Earth creationist. Down the street from my house, there's a creek that cuts through Cretaceous strata, and sometimes you can find Cretaceous fossils in here because the creek tears them up. And as I'm arguing with this guy who said that fossils aren't real, I look down, and between our feet, between his feet and my feet, as we're standing there talking to each other, is a perfectly preserved shark's tooth fossil. It's not the original tooth. It's the impression in a rock. And the tooth is gone. We have a white rock with a black tooth in high res. So you can see all the serrations down the side of the tooth, all of that. It's just a little bitty small thing, but it's perfectly fine detail. Right. And we look down and there it is. I'm like, well, son of a bitch, look at this. Pick it up, hand it to him. You think this was a hoax? You think somebody did they know that we're going to be here and they put that rock in the ground between us? Do you think maybe? Yeah, he got upset. He got so upset that I said, why would you want to believe something from somebody you know is lying? Why would you believe something you know to be a lie against things that we can prove to be true? And he ran away in tears. He told me he was going to go on believing his lies. Interesting.
Right. Yeah. And people often argue that there is science in religious scriptures. What do you say to that?
No, there isn't. When you come to a conclusion before you've ever done an experiment, before you've ever observed anything, before you've done any research at all, you know exactly where you're going to end up, no matter what the facts are. Then what you're doing is you're trying to find certain things that maybe you can find some way to spin to see how they fit, and you're going to ignore everything else. So people will often tell me, well, we both have the same evidence, says, because they.
Yes. And we come to different conclusions, right?
Like, okay, well, yeah, we don't have the same evidence. And one guy gave the example. This was earlier this week. Somebody told me this. I said, well, we both have the fossil record. I'm like, no, we don't. The fact that we have intermediate fossils between humans and other apes, that's on the evolution side. That's not on the creation side. If creationism was true, we would not have. I mean, we're already so close to chimpanzees and such that there couldn't be anything in between us, because anything in between something so close would imply a common relationship. And look at how many things we've got between these two. Myriad. And then not just for us, but look, we've got walking manatees. We've got living manatees. We know that there were fossil manatees that still had legs walking around. And then we've got fossil manatees that still had legs that they couldn't use for walking anymore. We have fossils of manatees where their back legs are just useless. They're just hanging there. They're not attached to a pelvis, or the pelvis isn't attached to the spine anymore. Same thing with whales. We have a long intermediate link for all these different whales, including whales who have legs but can no longer walk, and legs and whales, indisputably whales that are walking. They've got 4 legs and they can stand on them. All of that. So the fossil record is ours. You have absolutely fucking nothing that is supportive of creationism. What you're saying is that we both look at the world around us and we come to different conclusions, except that I'm the only one looking at the world around us. You're closing your eyes and saying, I believe the world was created. There's a huge difference there. So I challenge people a lot. Give me a fact in evidence to support your position. Well, evidence doesn't have to be facts. Yes, it does. And I've had argued with so many people. They say, well, subjective evidence is still evidence. And I'm like, to you, by definition, subjective evidence is only evidence to that person, not to me or anyone else. And they're in a debate with me, wanting me to admit that they have subjective evidence. But if it's literally not evidence to me, by definition, then I can't admit that it is evidence. It's not, by definition, not evidence to me.
Correct. And the argument I get is that you don't know the language, like they say, you don't know Arabic, or you don't know Hebrew or any of those ancient languages.
Yeah.
And that's why you don't understand. So that's the argument I get. And there's,
I now host a weekly Bible study wherein sometimes I have Bible scholars. I have Lawrence Yufa, who learned ancient Greek so that he could read the Septuagint and everything. And then I have two natural-born Hebrew speakers. So they read the Bible in the original Hebrew. And then I have Kip Davis on occasion, who he reads Hebrew as well, but he also reads in Akkadian. And so he knows the cuneiform. And then his friend Josh Bowen reads Assyrian. He's an Assyriologist, and he can read the cuneiform as well. So when these people tell me, well, you got to go back and read the original language, and then you'll understand. Well, here's a panel of Bible scholars who can do all of that, and they're telling me that you're wrong. Now what?
Yeah.
I don't know what the deal is, why people want to pretend things that are not. Why would you want to be completely convinced of something that is not evidently true? That's the thing that has always mystified me. So you asked me earlier, how I came to this position, and I really did think that if you ask me why I believe something, I will tell you, and there will be reasons that will convince you as well. But if I ask you as a believer, why do you believe what you do? I'll get because I want to. I'll get because I want to know that I'll meet my dead father or dead son again.
Yeah.
But believing something doesn't mean that you know it.
Right. And it makes them feel good. It makes them comfortable, or they're happy.
I'm sorry, I keep cutting you off. I don't mean to. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. No, all I said is, if they believe it's something like they're going to meet their dead parents, they feel happy. That's about it, right?
One of the arguments that I often get from believers is, why would I want to believe that? I would much rather believe. What does it matter what you want to believe? I want to believe that I'm young and rich.
Yeah.
I want to believe that I have Jedi powers.
Yes. I have a private jet. That would make me happy.
But wanting to believe things does not make it real. And it needs to be real. For me, truth matters more than whatever I would rather believe. And for a believer, the belief matters more than whatever the truth is. That's the crux of it.
Right. And why did you decide to become a public educator, a public speaker?
Because I saw what Christian nationalism was doing. When I got into these arguments with people in Talk.Origins decades ago, there were a number of religious extremists who were bragging that, going completely against the law, that churches are tax exempt because they're not supposed to be used for political lobbying, but they are so being used for political lobbying. So some minister would get on the phone with all of these other ministers across the state, and they would go tell their congregations that everybody in the congregation has to vote for this person, for judge or for senator or for school board or whatever. And so you would have these right-wing religious fundamentalist extremists all voting to get their people into office. And so you're not getting the best people. You're getting people with an agenda to overturn the country. And the ultimate goal that these people explained to me, and which was later reiterated in the Wedge document that was accidentally leaked from the Discovery Institute, was they really did want to put religious extremists at every level of state and federal government, hoping that when a Kitzmiller versus Dover type trial came up, that a religious judge would rule in favor of creationism. And then they would be able to chop science out, because that was the number one goal. eliminate science. And if people don't trust science, they'll be more susceptible to superstition. That was explained in the Wedge document. The Discovery Institute actually explained that explicitly, that was their goal, and said they were going to overturn our constitutional republic and replace it with a theocracy, which is what they're right now doing.
Okay, so speaking of right now, your thoughts on Donald Trump's administration? What is he up to?
Well, this is completely frightening. He didn't just do everything that the Christian Dominionists and the organizations wanted him to do, and he's already finished over half of their manifesto for all the things that they wanted to take over or break in our government, so that they could enable a religious theocracy. He's also he's eliminated the relevance of Congress and of he doesn't just have the executive branch, he has the legislative branch and Congress. Nobody will stand up to him. All the checks and balances are thrown away. The Supreme Court gave him immunity so that he could just go out and kill people if he wants to. So they're just letting him be a king, complete king, immune to anything.
Right.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter how much crime the man does, right out in the open. He's still how people. I don't understand how anybody could ever listen to this man for 5 minutes and not realize that he's stupid, and that he's lying, and that he's amoral. He only gives a shit about himself, nothing else.
Correct.
Yeah, but he's a great tool for the religious right. So he's doing dangerous things there. Right now, he's tearing apart the White House to put in a ballroom, which is not actually a ballroom. He's creating a subterranean data center.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, question from the audience.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of otherwise rational atheists who are Trump supporters, supporting Republicans? What happening there?
I think I've met all three of them.
Okay.
Yeah,
only three?
And all of them have big problems.
Okay, so you're saying only 3 people or 8? All right.
Yeah. and it's never for a good reason either. I mean, there just isn't. There is no good reason to follow this man. Certainly not when you know that when he says things like that he's going to defund any 501c3 organization that supports atheism, when he's going to criminalize the ability to criticize Christianity. What smart atheist is going to endorse cheating themselves out of their own right, the most fundamental right, freedom of religion, which means the freedom from religion, which means our ability to criticize religion? If I were in the UAE, and I was once upon a time, and I criticized Islam, my host grabbed me up and said, "We got to go right now."
Yes,
so
because
public place. I'm
yeah,
just
they'll try to kill you.
I'm talking like I would in the United States about here's 5 ways we know the Quran is wrong. Nope, we got to go. Boom. Inside of 1 minute, we're in the SUV going down the road.
So yeah, talking about debating Muslims, I've looked at some of your clips. I'll show you one. Do you remember this? This is P.Z. Myers, and you're in the background.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll play some of it. So you were debating, I think, Hamza Zordis or something.
Yep.
Okay, so they were...
And Adnan.
Yeah.
Adnan Rashid and what the fuck is his name?
Whatever. Anyway, so they were saying that there's embryology in Quran in perfect... it matches with science and so on. And then P.Z. Meyer was laughing at them. So he said, and then something you said was really important that I picked up, is that they are, okay, I'll just play it, better to hear from you.
No, you sexed it up slightly, right? Because actually what I've just discussed with Professor, right? Yeah, Professor Myers. What I discussed with Professor Myers was like actually the Quran is quite opposite to that. It's not a text that says believe just because I say so. It actually tells you to, for example, أَفَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ. In Arabic it says, do you not use your mind, your intellect? So it's telling you and trying to evoke thinking. Do you see?
I just want to make sure we don't have a language barrier. So when I said that you are punished for not believing, you're saying that I'm wrong, that in your religion you are not punished simply for not believing.
No, you're right, but it's bigger than that. It's an existential question.
I was right.
No.
So what was it saying? That so you're saying that just for being a non-believer,
Yeah.
you're going to hell, right? Is that correct?
As you know, the Quran is really explicit about this over and over and over again. It says that to do evil means to disbelieve, and that those who do good are the believers, and that believing means doing good.
Yes. Yeah, that's a faith is a virtue.
Yep. So how could you base a system of ultimate infinite justice where the punishment is so ridiculously severe that it's merciless, maniacal, what is the word? Vindictive? I mean, where you have to be so excessively cruel.
Yes.
And the whole point of it is to cause as much pain as you possibly can forever and ever and ever, because you just can't let go of your rage that somebody didn't pretend what you wanted them to pretend.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with whether you're doing good, actual good, or evil. If you're doing actual good things, but you don't believe, well, then that means you're an evildoer. How? Right? And so the whole system is based not on whether you do actual good or evil. It's based only on whether you believe the bullshit taught to you by the clergy. So it's an empty threat of a fate worse than death, which makes it sound pretty extreme. And the reason they had to make that up was because they originally had the false promise, or the empty promise, or the impossible promise of the posthumous paradise, where you believe what I say, and when you die, you'll be rewarded in heaven. Like, okay, but doesn't that mean that I have to keep on living forever and ever and ever and ever and ever? And in Islam, it's especially bad, because in Islam, you have to sit in God's hotel room lobby for all eternity, drinking non-alcoholic beverages.
Yes.
Brought to you by little boys who were created to be waiters. They didn't exist on earth. They exist only in heaven. They were created in heaven to be immortal little boys who just serve you non-alcoholic drinks. And then also you get sex robots. So you get women that were created as virgins in heaven, didn't exist on earth. And the multiple wives that you had on earth now have to wait in line, not only behind each other, but they also have to wait in line after your sex robots.
Yes. So they have created a fantasy world that came out of Muhammad's mind. So he was fantasizing. He would have a lot of women around him, drink all the time, and do nothing. So he promised everybody that you'd get that after you die. That's
the fact that there's no truth to any of it. There's no truth to any religion, but there's a hell of a lot of lies in all of them. The fact that when you disagree, there's no way for different religions to come to a disagreement and work out what the actual truth is. No, they're all claiming absolute truth, and if you don't believe me, I will kill you. And
yes, that's the ultimate threat. That if you
with no reason to back it up at all, and everything violates logic, the whole thing. So why the fuck do we have religion? It is the single worst thing that humanity has ever invented. You still there? Did I lose connection?
Yeah, sorry. Could you? I was distracted a little bit.
Okay.
Repeat the question.
No worries. I won't be able to stay on much longer. I'm going to have to go pretty quick.
Yeah. Okay, so all right. How much time do you have? Do you have time for a few more questions?
I could do, yeah.
Okay. All right. All right. So there, I will. Okay. So, let's go back to evolution, and so I see that most Christians will accept it, but Muslim, it's very difficult to explain explain this to a Muslim, why do you think there is a problem for Muslims?
Well, I know a lot of Christians who won't accept it either, and it's simply because they refuse to listen to reason. They want to believe something. They have to believe. They think that they have to believe it, and if they don't believe it, well, then I'm not teaching them. I'm not helping them. They think I'm damning them. That's the problem. They're
Oh, yeah.
afraid that if they learn forbidden knowledge, that and one girl told me that if I say something that makes sense, it's only because the devil is speaking through me. And this is how they justify how they only believe lies. They will only believe what we can prove to be lies, and if it's something you can prove to be true, they don't want to know it.
Yes, and I've also been told that all those fossils are put there by devil. So that's also some arguments I get.
Yeah, I heard a better one was put there by God to test our faith.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Because God is a real dick.
yeah, he's the real yeah. So anyway, I think we'll go towards the end and wrap it up.
Okay.
By the way, thank you so much. It's been such an honor to have you back.
Oh,
I think this is the third time we had a webinar with you.
yeah,
But
my apologies for not being on camera when I said I would. I was
no, that's fine.
I'm racing home, but I forgot to take into account the fact that the hour of the day is when they're letting all the children out of school.
Oh, okay.
So all the parents come to pick up the kids, and like every other block has another school. I'm like, fuck. I mean,
All right.
look at walking speed all the way through all the suburban neighborhoods.
Yeah, no big deal. But anyway, we'd love to have you back. I want to do a webinar on dinosaurs if you'd like.
Sure do. I could do.
Yeah. So let's set one up. And yeah, it's been awesome. Thank you so much. And
Were there
we'll
no
see you.
more questions? Did we finish the questions?
I think there's one more, maybe.
Okay. Trump supporters are in the prime of evolution.
Okay.
I don't know how to interpret that.
All right. Okay, so I think I had some more questions. I'll just give me a few seconds.
Okay.
Okay, here's one. All right, I'll put this here.
Okay.
Okay, here's a question: why do holy books consistently fail
When they make claims about nature? Because they are written by people who don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah, this is true for Bible and Quran. All the holy books.
Yes, sir.
Because Quran says the world was, I think the Bible says the same thing, like God made the world in or the universe in 7 days or something like that.
The Quran gets a little bit weird about it because it gives two different ages of the world, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
Yeah, and how can the same book that doesn't contradict itself give two different ages or two different durations of time? No way to reconcile that.
Yeah, but the Noah's flood and the Noah's flood, I think the Muslims say that it was a local flood, and then it becomes pointless because why would God?
But then it also says that everyone alive is a son of Noah.
Yes, and the way they reconcile it, they say that everybody was living at the same place at that time. That was Muslim put the argument in that way, that everybody in the world was in that place at that time. But there's no scientific evidence to back it up. So
it's worse than that. The global flood has been disproved by independently by various different sciences.
Yeah, and they okay. So when you come to interpretation of, there's a question: is it possible to reinterpret the scriptures endlessly to match modern science without losing its authority?
If you pretend that when it says this word, it means that other word, but only in this chapter or only when I need it to, then yeah, you can make the Bible say anything, or the Quran say anything you want to.
Basically, they do that. They constantly change the meaning.
Yep, but only right here. And then the rest of the time it says this word, that it means the regular thing.
Yes, and it becomes self-contradiction.
Yeah.
Okay. Another question. Ken Miller gave one piece of evidence during the trial.
The fusion of chromosome 2. Did
Yeah.
creationists ever try to explain that from their worldview? I'm sure they've tried.
Mhm.
I've never seen a valiant attempt. I'm sure they would have loved to have done it if they could, but they couldn't come up with anything.
Right. Yeah. So they tried to they tried everything to make intelligent design fit into classrooms.
Yeah.
Creationism in different forms, but none of that worked.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So all right. So I think we'll wrap it up here. Thank you so much. We'll love to have you back for a dinosaur talk. Let me know when you're available or when you can. And also, one more thing I would like to see. I have the guy I work for. He has a weekly podcast, or yeah, he has guests every week.
Mhm.
And but this guy's a Christian guy. But I don't think that's going to be a problem because he's a scientist. But he believes that every spirituality is it's fine, and Muslims or anything you believe in, that's fine. So I think if you become a guest on his podcast, it'd be great. Also, we'd love to have you there too.
Well,
And
let's communicate in email.
yeah, sure, I'll let you know. Yeah, I was talking to him about you today, and I said he's an atheist. So he said, no, that's fine. If he has open mind and he doesn't, go into conflicts, we can have talks. I said,
Well,
yeah.
how open is his mind?
Oh yeah, he's pretty open. Like he accepts all religions, and he says everything is good. So
Okay.
there's no problem with any faith. So
I
either
think
way,
there's a problem with faith just in being faith.
yes, yeah. I mean, being a scientist, you cannot have faith. So he
Yeah.
doesn't have faith, but he holds on to the cultural thing. I think he holds on to the spiritual thing, which is also
Yeah.
confusing because we don't know if there's a spirit of any kind.
Yeah.
So anyway, thank you so much, Aaron, for being here, and
Thank
we
you,
love
Colin.
to.
My pleasure.
All right, we love to see you again. Until then, stay healthy.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.